114 win over the Sixers. Baseball, the Reds are the first team since 1960 to lose 3 straight by a 1-0 score after Thursday's 1-0 setback at Milwaukee. Men's Final Four tomorrow at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. First game just after 6 o'clock Eastern. Florida faces Auburn. Then, just before 9 Eastern, the Duke Blue Devils battle Houston. Duke head coach John Scheyer, the recipient of the 2025 John McClendon National Coach of the Year Award. It's his 3rd season as the head coach of Duke. He led the team to a 35-3 record in their 18th trip to the Final Four. Women's Final Four tonight. South Carolina battles Texas. The rivals finished the regular season both 15-1 atop the SEC. It's the 5th consecutive Final Four appearance for the Gamecocks. The winner moves on to face the UCLA-UConn winner Sunday for the national title. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Here's comedian Howie Mandel for hands-free Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins.
Yeah, I'm holding a new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-in sneaker, and first of all, I barely know I'm holding it. It's that light. You see, Cozy Fit is a cool new sneaker where the upper is made of a soft quilted material. It's kind of like a little puffer jacket for your feet, except it looks like a super stylish sneaker.
Introducing new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins, the latest comfort creation from Skechers. You can find Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Only Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't want to see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now. No more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Only Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app and get gaming strategies and information faster than you can say, "No, honey, I know how to gamble," when your wife asks for $10 to get a scratcher. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The only place in football where the offense is always on the field is on Moneyline. With the 2 best hosts in radio, Donnie Rightside.
If anybody wasn't watching, listen, I don't know what you were doing.
And Kevin Walsh.
Forget act like you've been there before.
On the SportsGrid Radio Network, SiriusXM Channel 159.
Lining up Major League Baseball action today. A full card starting at 1:10 Eastern, going all the way through 9:38 tonight. Lovely full card afternoon action. Major League Baseball at its finest in the city of brotherly love, which means the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the unbeaten Los Angeles Dodgers. There's another unbeaten team today who's actually an underdog. That's the San Diego Padres. There's also a team that hasn't won a single Major League Baseball game this season that is a heavy favorite. That's the Atlanta Braves. It's the Marlins. I want to make sure we handicap all of these games today to see if we can find some proper analysis and ways that we can win money. Case in point yesterday, if you guys followed along, at RightSideVP on Twitter. Fantastic stuff. Cash and tickets. Away we go. By the way, usually starting the show, best hour every day, officially underway. You know it. It's Donnie Rightside. It's the SportsGrid Network. It's Moneyline. It's what we do. Have some fun. Set you up for the weekend. But yesterday, if you were following once again at Rightside VP, cash and tickets on the Philadelphia Phillies game. I had 3 players to get an RBI. All plus money. 2 of the 3 came in. Fantastic. We love that. Game itself went to Bet365 and used a 30% boost on 4 players to get at least the 1+1+1 market. 1 hit, 1 run, and or an RBI. Cash that ticket as well. Keep in mind, we only had 3 total runs in that game from a Phillies perspective. So it was the perfect thread-the-needle game, won some money. We hope to do it again today. As I prefaced this morning, I always give tidbits on where we're maybe leaning or going on some of these Major League Baseball games to start. It's not a great card. It's not because I don't like to hammer on some of these pitchers. I certainly do. It's not like, some of the totals don't make sense. They do. But the weather conditions in some of these environments, not the greatest, as you'll find repeatedly year to year to year in the early months of April. But I do think there's some money to be had. Chat box out there, Michael Piccioni, Jordan P., saying some funny stuff. What do you mean? Who's chat box where? What? What are you talking about? SportsGrid On Demand. If you watch it day to day on a YouTube channel, You can jump in the chat box. I tell you, I always have at least one of my monitors on that YouTube chat box. Come in, say hello, get a shout out, give a play for tonight. Any questions you have, the best way to get a hold of any host on this network, on the radio, directly through, it's on the YouTube channel. Easiest way to get through, Sirius XM channel 159. You know you're listening now in your car. Great app here with us, certainly through the Sirius app and also for the SportsGrid app. Wherever apps you can download, that's where you'll find that. Follow your favorite people, your favorite on-air host right here on the SportsGrid network. Easy to do. But yesterday, things worked out for us. It was beautiful. Threaded the needle. I thought we'd get more runs in the Phillies game. I didn't have a team total, by the way, on the Phillies. But if you did, I feel bad. Multiple times with bases loaded and runners in scoring position. Very Phillies-like, not actually getting that home. And also, Taijuan Walker was fantastic yesterday in his performance against the lowly Colorado Rockies, something that the Philadelphia fans themselves, like me, haven't been able to say in the past. So we had some pretty good environments yesterday to hit, which included the New York Yankees game. But today we do have a full card on schedule and afternoon baseball. So 1:10 start, a 2:10 start, a 2:20, a 3:10, a 4:10, a 4:12, a 4:35 before we get to the night card, which starts at 6:45 Eastern. That's the Dodgers and that's the Phillies. That's Yamamoto and Luzardo in that game. Hot topics coming out of the NFL, Geno Smith getting an extension, which happened after the show yesterday of Moneyline. Laughed at that. Ridiculous. He got more money than Sam Darnold, and they traded a draft pick for him. Complete loser organization, the Vegas Raiders at this point. But that's okay. It happens. We'll see how they wind up. Like, hey, got our franchise guy, paid him a lot of money. Our win total 6.5. Congratulations, Raiders and your fans. You're going nowhere next year. Maybe Geno will help you win an extra game or two to sort of ruin your future in the draft where you can't get the quarterback that you so desperately need, but figure a middle-aged quarterback is the way to go in a division that has a young rookie in Bo Nix on Detroit, ready to go and take the next step, as I thought he was very good last year. Patrick Mahomes, who might go down as the best quarterback in the history of professional football. Another guy named Justin Herbert that plays in Los Angeles for the Los Angeles Chargers. But Raiders are always going to Raider, the worst run organization in football for at least, the past 25 years. You can argue it might be the Cleveland Browns, but it's really the Raiders. From where they used to be, 70s and early 80s, to where they are now, completely unadulterated embarrassment here. All right. What do you say we start to set the table? Because as the hot topics come up, as the commercial breakers come through, in my head, I start to mess around and I see some other things. And like I see Mark Manara. I wanted to say marinara out there in the streets. Let's get some pizza money. You know it. And by the way, you guys know I fast. I only eat one time a day. Start my little snack window the minute that I end the early line. I get about 5 to 10 minutes there in between. Have a quick snack here. Get on the air. 1 o'clock. 12 to 1 o'clock opens up that next eating window for me. And then I don't eat the rest of the day. No calories. But yesterday I had a really good cheesesteak and a really good pizza. I'm feeling pizza again on a Friday. So I really am. I'm actually really feeling pizza again. Maybe a nice Caesar salad mixed in with that pizza today. Got my delivery of Mr. Good Bar in the mail through Amazon, which I need to re-up usually once a month. Usually have a bar or two. Have a nice little sugar rush before you end that day. But I'm excited. So yes, pizza money is on docket. Pizza will be had on the table for your boy DRS. But now let's go through and find some options that we can have. As always, pen and paper out because I handicap these games typically with you guys in the afternoon, then finalize a little bit later in the day. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a couple spots here that do have my eye, or does have my eye. One of those games, to be honest, is 2:20 in the afternoon. That's San Diego and Chicago. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Another game that has my attention, 6:45 p.m. tonight, Arizona and Washington. Just based on early numbers, yes, it's very hard. But sometimes you have to have some intuition, like yesterday with the Phillies game. Just thought it made some sense to bang out some lefties going up against, Colorado yesterday, and it worked. We'll see if it does again today. But if we're looking from last year's statistics, right? If we go to Fangraphs, love Fangraphs, love Roto Grinders, FanDuel Sportsbook, Bet365, hand in hand at this point right now. Hand in hand. Best pitcher xFIP minus Ys based on last year's statistics. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Los Angeles Dodgers. They take on the Philadelphia Phillies today. But again, he's already had a start under his belt, just going by last year's numbers. An xFIP minus of 71. That is tremendous. Flaherty, Fried, Schwellenbach, Fought, Iminaga, all really good numbers from last year, which again leads into a couple different angles I'm looking to play. Like that Brandon Fought, for Arizona. I think Arizona's a pretty good play today, minus 135 in that range, up to minus 150 at some outlets. But that's not the angle we're going to get to in the game. We're just spitballing right now on some of these pitchers. The fadeable pitchers on the mound today, which does include that 220 start today. 901, 902 on the rotation. It's San Diego at Chicago. Vasquez versus the lefty Imanaga. Heavy favorite for Imanaga at minus 168 at FanDuel, as high as 175 at DraftKings, depending which way you're looking to bet. The total in that game opened up at 6.5, still sits at 6.5. Some 7 are out there in the betting atmosphere as well. When we take a look at Imanaga, who was good last year with an 89 xFIP number, Randy Vasquez, pitcher for the Padres, who are undefeated, was a 120 last year. That's going to be the attack point for us. We'll get to that game in just a few moments, but those are the games I have my eye on. Now, we're going to handicap game by game by game as we go down this list today to see if we find any other additives that I might have missed in that brush over that I'd like to give before I get on the early line. But there are some angles to play. Weather conditions aren't that great today. But again, I'm going to try to make some money in the month of April. Things are going well. I look to extend that streak into today. Thanks for tuning in. We got an hour to go. Handicapping starts next, right here on Moneyline.
Download the SportsGrid mobile app.
Just do it. You might as well get it.
We're not going to shut up about it until you do.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. The Trump administration is considering a deal to save TikTok that would have China maintaining control of the algorithm that will be leased to a U.S. company with a minority ownership stake. The Trump administration has set a Saturday deadline for the app to be banned if it is not sold by its Chinese-owned parent company, ByteDance. Lawmakers in Oregon and Washington are considering whether striking workers should receive unemployment benefits following recent walkouts by Boeing factory workers, hospital nurses, and teachers in the Pacific Northwest that highlighted a new era of American labor activism. Oregon's measure would make it the first state to provide pay for picketing public employees who aren't allowed to strike in most states, let alone receive benefits for it. Washington's would pay striking private sector workers for up to 12 weeks, starting after at least 2 weeks on the line. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins.
Join the millions of people who are celebrating going hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. Footwear you just step into and they're on.
It's crazy how something as simple as a pair of shoes have made my life better.
After trying Skechers Slip-ins, I want all my shoes to have this technology.
See what everybody can't stop talking about. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. GI Bill, SkillBridge, and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
Let's make something crystal clear. The winning edge has nothing to do with increasing good luck. Luck has nothing to do with it. It's sports gaming strategies and information. You want luck? Flip a coin. You want to win?
Flip it here.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
As the man said, you want luck, flip a coin. Sometimes you do have to do a little bit of coin flipping in the month of April in Major League Baseball because some of the statistics that you normally like to see don't actually pan out. Some shocking results on a night-to-night basis. Some undefeated teams that we're taking a look at today, the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers, both on the road today when they're really used to playing at home. I do think we have some good spots, but let's start here early. Let's go to, and I'm just going to separate a few things on my computer screen as we get going. We'll start right away. 1:10 p.m. Detroit Tigers taking on the Chicago White Sox. Cannon versus Flaherty in that game. That is, again, is a 1:10 start. I think we have starting lineups out in this game about 2 hours away. Typically is when we start to get those things here, and we do see that. We'll take a look at the current season statistics and match them up based upon last year. All right. If we look at the Tigers today and the weather conditions, again, this is big to watch out in the month of April. 51 degrees, a crosswind blowing, right foul pole to left foul pole. If we look at the Tigers lineup today, has a decent mix of righty and left-handed batters, as you would like. Last year, Jonathan Cannon, starting pitcher here for the White Sox, had 525 batters that he faced. 177 ISO, weighted on base percentage, 336. Almost identical average. Struggled last year with left-handed batters, since he's a right-handed pitcher. A 200 ISO power number and a weighted on base percentage of 352. Those were the numbers last year for him. Now, this season, one start under his belt, 20 batters faced. He's been really good. ISO power number 0, weighted on base percentage 282. So if you just factor on last year, struggling with his 276 left-handed batters he's faced, that's the angle you would want to play if you play with the Detroit lineup today. Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, Colt Keith, Zach McKinstry, and Trey Sweeney as the left-handed batters in the lineup. But if we're looking at how they started this season, right, against right-handed pitching from the left-hand side, Riley Green is an extreme plus in this game. Kerry Carpenter was not hit right-handed pitching all that well. Neither was Colt Keith or Zach McKinstry. Trey Sweeney, a lefty, 158 ISO, weighted on base percentage bad at 273. So for me, when I'm taking a side, right, I'm not saying that the Detroit Tigers can't score runs or you shouldn't be betting them. But when we're using that 1+1+1 market, and by the way, guys, feel free to expand on that if you guys like, because there are some nights where I'll try to ladder up. Maybe take the 2+2+2 market or 3, 4, or 5 as it goes as high on Bet365. But for me, I've been sticking with that one market, not getting too greedy, and every single at bat really means something. Oh, no, I need a ninth inning base hit and an RBI because he doesn't have anything. Boy, it's nice when you only need one of those things to happen, which includes a base hit, get on base, score a run. So I like that 1+1+1 market, but also you want clusters in those games. Like if I tell you right now, Riley Green looks like a really good impact player, I also don't want to spread it out technically to other games, which I will do at times, depending on the situation, particularly if I'm looking to round robin, let's just say RBI props. But when I'm just looking at that 1+1+1 market, I want to have a cluster right in the middle of that lineup or within a few players, right? Because you figure that that lineup is going to score runs. You figure that that lineup is going to hit, and that's what you glom off because you're only needing one of the three things to happen. Runner on third, one out. Guy comes up to the plate. Flies out to right field, but it's a run scored on an RBI. Boom. There you go. You already have that down. So Riley Green has fantastic numbers early season through 18 at-bats against, right-handed pitching, but we don't have enough in that lineup to go off of. Let's flip it over to the other side of the Chicago White Sox here. Going up against Jack Flaherty, who last year, 747 batters he faced, he was very good. ISO average at 180. Weighted on base percentage below at 304. Really dominated as a right-handed pitcher against left-handed pitching, but struggled a bit against right-handed batters. In his start this season, 22 batters that he faced, he's clean against right-handed batters to the tune of a weighted on base percentage of 230 and an ISO power number of 0. You look in this lineup here through. Vargas, right-handed batter, terrible numbers this year against right-handed pitching. Luis Robert, 19 at-bats, 0 ISO power number. You go through the middle of that lineup, Andrew Vaughn has a decent ISO power numbers already. So does Sosa, and so does Baldwin, but he is a switch hitter. He'll be batting lefty today. So for me, again, this game, a complete washout for me. It's 110. You don't have to worry. You don't have to hustle. You don't have to get your plays in early. That game we're going to leave on the sideline here. Game number 2 this afternoon. It's St. Louis and it's Boston. You take a look at this number here. Fetty on the mound versus Buehler. About a minus 125 price, depending on where you're shopping at here, as a favorite towards the home team, Boston. Fetty on the mound, again, average at best. Buehler looking to work his way back into one of the dominant pitchers that he used to be in Major League Baseball. But this total opened at 8.5, and it's how it moved to 9. You take a look in Boston today. Not bad temperatures, guys. 64 degrees, and a wind blowing from left foul pole to right foul pole at 11 miles per hour. Shouldn't have a huge impact in the game. As we take a look at Fetty last year, 726 batters he faced, and a very good ISO power number of 148 and a weighted on base percentage of 296. Fetty's pitched one time this year, 20 batters, ISO at 050, weighted on base percentage 108. Good start to the season. So the Red Sox, again, Duran, Devers, Bregman, Casas, against right-handed pitching. Not very good. Story, Abreu, Campbell, very good. But again, that lefty-righty split, Fetty having a good start. I'm going to lay off of the Boston Red Sox today, which is a common theme for a lot of these games, particularly early in the day. The St. Louis Cardinals going up against Walker Buehler, who last year, 407 batters he's faced, it wasn't good at all. Very un-Walker Buehler-like, 201 ISO power number, weighted on base percentage, 358. You take a look at this year, 22 batters faced, a high ISO, a high weighted on base percentage, and right-handed batters are cracking him. So in the middle of that lineup, who looks good? Nolan Arenado has done very well through his 18 at-bats against right-handed pitching. You take a look at Jordan Walker, high number against right-handed pitching. The only problem is, like, you want the threes at least. But if we take a look at Arenado and Walker, let me just go to Bet365. Because I'm going to take a look at some of these statistics. Let me log in quickly here. Got that? Because sometimes you can get, let's just say, less than 3 players with a decent payout, if that makes sense. So I'm going to slide it down. We'll go MLB. We'll go 2:10 p.m. Player props. Slide it down to the 1+1+1 market, which again, it's like, I don't see anything that says 1+1+1. It's total hits, runs, and RBI market at 365. Click on that button. It goes 1 through 5 all the way through of how high you can, rate these. So if we take a look, Nolan Arenado, minus 350, and Jordan Walker is minus 250. That's a minus 135 price. So right on the number here. We'll keep it moving next. It's Moneyline. More handicapping up quickly. Let's go.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app. It's much easier to carry than your lucky horseshoe.
And you won't get stopped at the airport.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1974, Hank Aaron ties Babe Ruth's home run record by hitting number 714 in Cincinnati. In 1986, Wayne Gretzky sets the NHL record with his 213th point of the season. And in 1989, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar plays his last NBA game in Seattle, ending his incredible career. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
New University of Ottawa research says if you're a member of the Polar Bear Club and like to take a dip in the ocean during sub-zero weather, you might actually be extending your life. This study finds acclimating your body to repeated exposure to immersion in cold water for an hour over 7 days supercharges cellular resistance, the body's natural mechanisms cleaning out damaged tissue. If you want to try this for yourself and you're not quite ready to jump into the Arctic Ocean, maybe just try a cold shower. Follow me at Capalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Sports Rage Tonight.
Hello, Carrot Top is trying to kill me. I just gave people a movie, a Hollywood idea.
He's a super nice guy, was very patient about questions and helping out the guys that were not at his level. So, I hate his act. It's absolutely...
But great guy.
By the way, when you're a comic, this is the worst thing you can say about somebody. Is he funny? He's a nice guy.
It's Sports Rage Tonight with Gabe Morency. Weekdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. There are too many people addicted to their phones these days, unless it's to look or listen to the SportsGrid mobile app.
In fact,
you should delete all your apps but ours.
Your wife texts you too much anyway.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
As we go down the path here, having some fun, breaking down these Major League Baseball games. First two off the board, not really in love. Chicago White Sox, Detroit Tigers, nope. St. Louis, Boston, nope, not really. We're going to focus on San Diego and Chicago. If you have any time left in the show, which we probably should, or maybe we won't, talk a little Final Four action, but I will be live in the studio tomorrow with myself and Ben Stevens. We are doing the early game, which is Florida, and it's Auburn, excuse me. I don't know, I just had a brain cramp right there. Coach and Kevin for the late night game, the Duke Blue Devils taking on, Houston in their own state of Texas. And then, by the way, tomorrow, did I say not tomorrow? Sunday morning, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Your new daily ritual there every Sunday on the Sports Grid Network is what? Yeah, it's Pro Baseball Today. Myself and Tom Vecchio breaking down the entire card live on Sundays for 2 hours. A lot of fun, the hottest topics of the week, and making sure that we get everything we need to know out in the public there as those lineups come in and some options to take. All right, we have an interesting game popping up right now, so I wanted to open it up right out of the break and have some fun. ATX says, what site is he looking up data on? Again, the two best sites that I like to use, my go-to sites, Roto Grinders, as well as Fangraphs. Those are the two sites that I certainly like to get down on and have some fun with. So let's take a look at this game here today. San Diego is unbeaten on the season. Is going to have Vasquez, the right-handed pitcher, on the mound. Moneyline splits in this game, 50-50 tickets. But 79% of the money actually coming in on San Diego in this game. Only 21% there on Chicago. Keep in mind, though, this line opened up at a minus 144 price, and now sits as high as 175 in the marketplace as a favorite towards Chicago. So that should tell you, more money pouring in on San Diego, line holding strong. So I do think the Cubs are the right play today, not just based on the facts of where the money is going around, but let's now take a look at what this actually means today in a matchup. Let's take a look at Randy Vasquez. We're starting with it for last year. 432 batters that Randy Vasquez faced. His ISO power number combined wasn't bad, guys, at 169. That's right on average. Weighted on base percentage, though, is elevated to a 360. Now, also, you take a look at his right-handed batters last year that he faced. Average ISO power number against. Same thing with the weighted on base percentage. Focus on the left-handed batters, though. This is where we might be able to get down to business. Understand, there's a dichotomy from last year and how this pitcher started this year. Vasquez faced 198 left-handed batters last year, a 174 ISO, which again, it was right around regular, right around normal, but a 418 weighted on base percentage, really spiked up. This year, he's faced 15 left-handed batters and has done very well. 071 ISO power number, which you never had two like extremely high numbers last year in that round, but he's at a 309 weighted on base percentage this year through those 15 batters, which is very manageable. Now let's take a look at this lineup here for the Chicago Cubs today. As we know, extended time, played over there in Japan to open their series, 0-2 against the Dodgers. I played a couple games here now in the regular season. They have some decent at-bats if we're looking. Like Ian Happ's got 26 at-bats this year against right-handed pitching. Kyle Tucker, 24. Seiya Suzuki, 28. They did a lot of damage out in Oakland. So the focal point for me for Randy Vasquez is let's fade him against left-handed batters. Now, the batters in the lineup today, that could make some sense for us. There's not a lot, though. Ian Happ in that starting spot there for the starting spot. The leadoff role, excuse me. What am I talking football here? 26 at-bats, a 190 ISO power number, a low K rate, but a low weighted on base percentage of 236. But I will write Happ's name down here early. If we take a look at Kyle Tucker, absolutely smoking the baseball at a 632 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 676 and a low K rate. So right there, you got to write down Tucker. So you have two guys at the top of the lineup who are lefties that you want to put your focal point on. Now, here's the question mark. It's still early in the season. Here's what you want to understand and what's actually going on. These numbers will play themselves out throughout the month of April and May. Once you get to May, you have some good numbers. Once you get middle of May, you have just about every statistical number you're probably going to need for the rest of the season. You're trying to extrapolate right now what makes sense, making the smart move. Seiya Suzuki has been really good so far for the Cubs. He's not a left-handed batter, though. He's a right-handed batter. But he's got a 308 ISO and a 392 weighted on base percentage. When I talk about those clusters, take a look at the first inning. I always use the same terminology here and the same slogan. Ian Happ walks to lead the game. Tucker singles him over to third base. Suzuki flies out to right field for a sac fly. You already hit your parlay. That's why you like those guys bunched up together. And the question's going to be is, do you extend this? Because Michael Busch doesn't have a lot of power here so far through his 24 at-bats as a left-handed batter against right-handed pitching, but he's got a 397 weighted on base percentage. I'm going to work on some of these numbers over the break on what that parlay would pay out for the Chicago Cubs, but I'm interested, even though that windy, cold, rainy conditions in Chicago isn't helping me. Sonny Rightside, Solo Mission. Be right back.
This is the place.
This is where you'll get expert perspectives and sports gaming strategies 24/7.
And it's free.
Beat that, you cheap. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. Women's Hoops Final Four tonight in Tampa, Florida. South Carolina battles Texas. UCLA tangles with UConn. UCLA's Corey Close named the AP Women's Coach of the Year. The Bruins held the number one spot in the AP Top 25 for 14 weeks, on their way to grabbing the top overall seed in the NCAA tournament. USC's Juju Watkins named the AP Women's Basketball Player of the Year. She led the Trojans to their best season in nearly 40 years. They won the Big Ten regular season title for its first conference crown in 31 years. The sophomore is already in the top 10 on USC's all-time scoring list. Her season was cut short in the NCAA tournament with an ACL injury suffered in the second round. The men's Final Four is tomorrow in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. The Florida Gators take on the Auburn Tigers. The Houston Cougars battle the Duke Blue Devils. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Find what you love and love what you find. A Total Wine and More, the place to go for sipping rosés with seltzers on ice, making margaritas with your favorite tequilas. It's warm out, let's go. Our prices are low on spirits, beer, and wine. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. B21.
Lowe's knows that your deadlines don't change, even when your job does. But with Lowe's Buy Online, Pick Up in Store, we'll help you adjust on the fly. And when you absolutely can't leave the project, we can deliver to your job site as soon as same day. Lowe's knows pros. We help, you save. Valid on eligible in-stock orders and select zip codes placed by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. More terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
If sports talk stations were buffets, we'd be the one with the line out the door where every night is rib night and you came alone because the crowd gives you a measure of cover so you won't get any grief for going back 9 times. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Right back here on Moneyline, Friday afternoon edition, Major League Baseball going over on a Final Four Friday because tomorrow is the Final Four. We got you covered on the SportsGrid Network. Make sure you're locked in tomorrow for Bracket Central. In-game live with myself and Ben Stevens, game number 1, Coach James Young, and also Kevin Walsh for game number 2 tomorrow. Start time 6 o'clock. Got you covered all the way up to midnight. The place to be on the SportsGrid Network. Now, as I did some numbers here, not bad, not bad. Now, we have some time also. It's a 2:20 start. So by the time we get done this show, about an hour and a half or so before that game starts. Here's the issue with Chicago. You know we usually love this, right? Hey, man, Chicago, great place to hit. 7s are across the board because that wind is blowing in. 46, 47 degrees at first pitch. Maybe about an 8-mile-an-hour wind blowing in from right field. Not great. But I did some numbers, as I told you, looking on Bet365 what the payout would be for a parlay on a 1+1+1. Again, you're just listening, don't understand it. 1 hit, 1 run, 1 RBI. Don't need 3 of them. Just need one of those 3 things to happen from your batter. Tucker's a -340. Happ is a -300. Suzuki is a -250. If you parlay them together, it's +125. Rate in order, 1, 2, 3 in the lineup. Something that could certainly make some sense. If you include Michael Busch, he's at a -240. That jumps it up to a 2-to-1 price. And there is a 30% boost on 365 that you can use to really jump that up. We used that yesterday in the Phillies game. Helped out. I think it added an extra $18, $19 onto a $50 wager, which is nice. Free money that they offer back coming to you. But again, you have to hit it. And I'm not necessarily in love with taking overall 4 players. So if I had to, I probably would exclude Michael Busch, even though he's got a high weighted on base percentage. It just feels like a lot. So Suzuki, Happ, and Tucker make some sense to me. Am I definitely playing that? I'm not sure yet. I just have to weigh my opinions on, do you want to make sure that you get multiple games in here, multiple ways to make money, or is it just focusing on what you think makes the most sense? But I got to tell you, Happ, Tucker, and Suzuki, high ISOs, weighted on base percentage is really good. Or, and here's the tough part, because I always, put it this way, I don't like to take out of the equation the leadoff batter because of how key it is. That's why I take like Ian Happ's a minus 300 price, and Suzuki's in the 3-hole with much better numbers is a minus 250. That guy's going to get 5 at-bats today. Can he get on base basically one time is what you're asking? Because if he does, if he ends by a walk, he might get driven in. You get the point. You score a run, have an RBI, get a base knock. But if we're just looking at weighted on base percentages this season alone, Tucker, Suzuki, and Bush, 676, 392, and 397. And again, weighted on base percentages, you want that number to be 320 or higher. They're all really high and all really solid. So there's a lot of ways you can play it, but the weather is really tricking me just a bit. But I have those names down. I have that game circled. We'll put that one on the burner. Now, if you're saying, Donnie, what about the Padres? They're unbeaten, man. Getting a decent money line in this game. I'm not really going towards them. Like, I love Tatis, Arise, Machado, Bogarts, Merrill. You get the picture. But Shota Imanaga was really good last year. Opens the season 26 batters, really good again this year. So we'll lay low on that side of it. But I do have a circle on the Chicago Cubs today to see what we can do. Toronto and New York, home opener for the New York Mets today. A 3:10 start. Not bad temperatures. 65 degrees. 6-mile-an-hour wind blowing in from left field. More of a crosswind than actually like dead blowing in. But, shouldn't affect it all that much because that's a big left field concourse that they have out there and should block most of the windy conditions. But in this one today, it's Gausman versus McGill. Slight favorite here towards the Mets, minus 132 price at FanDuel, and a 7.5 across the board. Notice what we're talking about. 3 out of the first 4 games, 7, 9, 7, and 7.5. Because you're still getting good pitchers here, and we're wondering what these lineups are going to do. Last year, Kevin Gausman, 756 batters he's faced. True veteran pitcher. Solid season. 155 ISO against. Very good. 304 as a weighted on base percentage. Also very good. Opening up the season, struggling a little bit with left-handed batters, but not so much with right-handed batters. So, the lefties in the lineup, I've taken them multiple times this year already. Love me some Soto, love me some Nimmo. Both have extremely high numbers against right-handed pitching. Is that one we should be looking at? Because I sort of left that off because if we look last year, Gausman's xFIP minus is a 103. Even though he had a decent ERA, xFIP was a little bit high, but his xFIP minus was 103. Am I passing up something here? So I got 125 written down for the 3 players we talked about here with the Cubs. Let me slide this over to the good old New York Metropolitans here, because that game's a 3:10 starting again. Plenty of time to still make up our minds of what we're looking for. Let me go down to the 1+1+1 market and just go for with a 2-man right now, because I want to focus on left-handed batters. So Soto and Nimmo, we're going to take their swings or at least get on base, per se. Minus 325, minus... see, that's not bad. So let me write this down. So we got Cubs. And again, not understanding that we're playing these, but just writing them down as food for thought on options to play. We'll go Soto, Nimmo versus Gausman in decent weather. That's a minus 125 price. So the first game, plus 125, you can boost that up. Second game, minus 125. I don't want to force in a third batter in there, even though I do love Pete Alonso. 20 plate appearances against right-handed pitching with a 500 ISO and a 520 weighted on base percentage. Like, that's one that you could probably just pencil in and make it a third. But I'm just trying to stick with the focus here for me. And again, last year, Gausman was very good against lefties. I don't know if that's going to be a play for me on the Mets, but I still wanted to circle it just to see if there's something we can do. Toronto on the opposite side. I don't have an official lineup just yet. It's probably coming out or maybe been out since the commercial break that we had. Tyler McGill's on the mound. 364 batters last year. Average performance. I go against both lefties and righties. First start this year, very good. Not really too happy with that lineup there for the Toronto squad, so we'll leave that one out. The Athletics and the Colorado Rockies. This game's going to be played in Colorado. You take a look at this game itself. Let's see, where is it? Bido versus Feltner. 9.5s across the board as the total. Pick them basically between both sides. Weather conditions in Colorado, terrible today, guys. 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing in, 40-degree temperatures. So the real feel out there is going to be in the 30s. We know that's not great for a Major League Baseball game. The Rockies lineup is awful as is, with only one guy, Hunter Goodman, and Mickey Moniak with 4 at-bats against right-handed pitching that has done anything. Everybody else has been terrible. The Athletics, with Feltner on the mound, who last year threw 695 batters faced, got hit around a little bit by lefties, was very good against righties. What did he do last year, though, with his xFIP minus number? Because that'll take out of the equation playing at Coors. So Feltner was a 103 xFIP minus number. It's not really anything you can really pick on, so I'll pass on that game, too. Next game up, New York Yankees and the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Yankees can't stop, won't stop hitting at this point. Smashing baseballs left and right. Max Fried's going to be on the mound for the New York Yankees. Opening day start, 29 batters faced, an ISO of 0.40, and a weighted on base percentage of 325. Lefties actually hit him a little bit. But as you know, most teams aren't going to line up a lot of lefties. In today's projected lineup for the Pittsburgh Pirates with this game at 4 o'clock, only one lefty in the lineup. That's O'Neal Cruz. And by the way, the entire lineup, minimal bats against left-handed pitching. They haven't done anything. So that would be a worry if you're looking from a Pittsburgh side. But the Yankees, everybody's usually in tune to, knowing about the torpedo bats, really hot at home. Now go to more of a pitcher's ballpark than hitter's ballpark, which is what Yankee Stadium is. Mitch Keller last year for the Pittsburgh Pirates, since he's a starter today, 773 batters he faced, struggled mightily with left-handed batters. This year has faced 15 and has been good. 0.67 ISO, 263 weighted on base percentage. You look at the Yankees lineup against right-handed pitching, Bellinger and Goldschmidt haven't done anything yet this year. Neither is Oswaldo Cabrera. They're anticipated in the starting lineup. The guys that have hammered away, Judge, Chisholm, Volpe, Wells, Dominguez, and Rice. Now, I just told you last year Mitch Keller struggled with lefties, so that's probably where you're going to look. And there's 3 good. You know what? We might have something with the New York Yankees today, guys. Because if I look at just left-handed batters, I love my guy Jazz. He's got good numbers so far. Write him down. Austin Wells has had really good numbers against righties. So we'll write Wells down. And then Ben Rice, the end of that lineup there. 500 ISO power, number 644, weighted on base percentage. And it's only through 8 batters. He is another lefty. So let me write down Ben Rice. I'll get those prop numbers here on the parlay next, right here on Moneyline.
Winning is not just beating the odds. It's the thing that keeps the wife smiling and your kids in respectful awe.
Oh, Father. Now cut that out.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. Men's Final Four tomorrow at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. First game just after 6 o'clock Eastern. Florida faces Auburn. Then, just before 9 Eastern, the Duke Blue Devils battle Houston. Duke head coach John Scherer, the recipient of the 2025 John McClendon National Coach of the Year Award. It's his 3rd season as the head coach of Duke. He led the team to a 35-3 record in their 18th trip to the Final Four. Women's Final Four tonight, South Carolina battles Texas. The rivals finished the regular season both 15-1 atop the SEC. It's the 5th consecutive Final Four appearance for the Gamecocks. The winner moves on to face the UCLA-UConn winner Sunday for the national title. History-making performance for the Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo last night, 35 points, 17 rebounds, 20 assists, and a 126-113 win over the Sixers. Baseball, the Reds are the first team since 1960 to lose 3 straight by a 1-0 score after Thursday's 1-0 setback at Milwaukee. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Have you heard? Kohl's has 2 exclusive new home brands, Miriana and Mingle & Co. From luxe favorites that are all about turning your space into a sanctuary to fun mix and match dining essentials, there's so much to discover. And trust me, you're gonna love everything. Plus, you can get an extra 20% off throughout the store during our Friends and Family sale. So hurry to Kohl's today and bring it all home for less. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offer ends April 6th. See store or kohls.com for details.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
You've heard of smart bombs,
Smartphones, smart cars, smart watches, and smart glasses.
Now you can add smart player.
Giving you sports gaming strategies and information 24/7.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Got the numbers here for that Yankees parlay we're just talking about here, and that would include going after left-handed batters going up against Mitch Keller. And that would be Jazz, Wells, and Rice as a plus 175 number in the 1+1+1 market. So I did circle that there for the Yanks as maybe a possibility to be played there. So Some more games opening up my eye, which is the goal of handicapping every single game to try to find something that you like. Because you take a look at last year, the XFIP minus number 100 is average in Major League Baseball. Above average is not really doing your job all that well. Mitch Keller last year was a 100 XFIP minus. So the epitome of average, that maybe you're getting a Yankees team that is above average right now. You don't want to outsmart yourself. We don't have the official starting lineups. But right now I have the Cubs, Mets, and the Yankees written down with some opportunities there. Again, not promising that we're playing any of them, but I just want to get those things that I can take a look at and analyze once official lineups come out, and also have a little lunch in my stomach. So you know what? You can make better decisions at that point. San Francisco and Seattle, no real action here. By the way, Verlander wasn't very good last year. 398 batters, really struggled, particularly against lefties. This year against lefties, go figure. He's been really good and struggling against right-handed batters. You take a look at this game played in Seattle. San Francisco, whether it's played in San Francisco or Seattle, to be honest, wasn't going to make too much big of a difference for me. We'll skip that game. I want to focus on Arizona and Washington. One of the initial games that I circled on my card today to say, you know what? This game might make some sense. Brandon Pfaadt, pitcher on the mound, right-hander for the Arizona Diamondbacks last year, an XFIP minus number of 88. Struggled against left-handed batters last year. Did very well against right-handed batters. This year, struggling again a bit against left-handed batters, which is interesting to me. So normally I was just looking towards the, let's just say, Arizona bats here. But I got to be honest. We might have a little bit more, action per se today. Look at, and again, I just told you, Pfaadt was really good last year with an 88 XFIP minus. His ERA was high at 4.71, but his XFIP numbers and XFIP minus numbers were really good. You're going to get a lot of lefties early in this lineup today for Washington. C.J. Abrams, James Wood, Kybert Ruiz will be a switch hitter, and Nathaniel Lowe. Look at these guys, 15 at-bats, 15 at-bats, 14 at-bats, and 16 at-bats. And then you can even take a look at Josh Bell. Could this be a team total for the Nats? I'm just being real right now. You're looking at 5 lefties to start the game that have done really well against right-handed pitching to open the season. Usually it'd be like, you know what, you're just going to take all 5 of those guys to get a base knock. But I don't know, their K rates are high, which makes me struggle. But again, if a pitcher struggles with lefties, he's going to get a lot of lefties. Are we getting a depressed team total? Now, usually the team totals, I believe, on FanDuel are a little bit better than 365. Well, let's see here this Washington team. Piquing my interest. Again, this is going to be a night game tonight, 6:46. So we have a lot of time to see that actual starting lineup that comes out. Let's see here. So let's go Washington total runs. It's 3.5 at minus 115. Very manageable. Let me slide this down because I want to take a look what we have at 365. And by the way, if anybody out there is listening, which you guys are, I see you guys popping up in the chat box. Let me know this, because there's certain football sites I go to, like when I want to see the best number on a anytime touchdown prop, the best number on a receiving prop. They're easy to line up side by side with certain websites to see what those price points would be simultaneously. Does anybody out there know a good baseball site that does that, which will tell you everybody's, and I'm not talking about the book itself. I want to compare the books together. Everybody's team total for the day. Here's the best price, highest price. If anybody has that in the chat box, just let me know there. And again, that chat box, SportsGrid on Demand, over 7,000 people subscribed so far. Best way to watch and be interactive with the show, which I love to be interactive. Since we don't have phone calls available right now, this is the best way to do it, to reach out and share that information. So if anybody out there, or even on Twitter, at RightSideVP, if you have a website out there that compares, prices and sites to each other in one spot, much appreciated if you have that out there. But again, 3.5 is a minus 115 Washington Nationals team total here. Just slid it over to 365 to take a look at some team props here. 3.5 minus 115 again for the Nationals against the Diamondbacks. So I'm just going to write down Washington. Team total 3.5. And again, maybe we'll put together an alternate team total number, which are fun to cheer on. I haven't had a lot of great success. I'm actually 1-3 on those so far in the season. Dabbling in those. They're fun to cheer on. You're always in it. You're taking a depressed number to see if you can turn it into profitability. Looking at the Nationals, 1.5 at minus 500, which means they have to score 2 runs. You pair that up in 2 or 3 other games, you get a pretty good price point back. And you do have the odds boost. You know what? I might do that today to have some fun. But I didn't expect to get Washington sidetracked here, and I did, which I love, by the way. That's fantastic. So Washington may be a team total 3.5 on the radar. But the team I actually circled to start the day, guys, it was the Arizona Diamondbacks, and for good reason. Let's flip it over to their lineup anticipated today. Carroll, Marte, Gurriel, Naylor, Suarez, Smith, Moreno, McCarthy, and Perdomo. You look at Jake Irving last year, he actually had some decent numbers, guys. 768 total batters he's faced. 185 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 317. That's not bad. If I go to his xFIP minus numbers from last year, let me see where he at, Jake Irving. Let's scroll up and down. Jake Irving, 99. So right on the cut line of just being average, 4.41 ERA, xFIP around 4.03. So again, it wasn't bad. But hear me out on this. Last year, Jake Irvin had an ISO power number 160 and a weighted on base percentage of 300 against right-handed batters through 371 of those. That's really good. Different tail, guys, when you break down that left-hand side. 397 batters he faced as a right-handed pitcher against lefties. That went to a 208 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 333. The 208 ISO is really elevated. The 333 weighted on base percentage, slightly elevated. Let's get to this season. And again, limited statistics as we talk about this. The ISO power number, 250 total, 435 weighted on base percentage. But look at the split line. 12 batters to lefties, 10 to righties. And again, it's not a big stat line, but it sort of builds off of that process that we had last year. To right-handed batters, a 111 ISO and a 285 weighted on base percentage. But guys, look at the lefties this year. Only 12 batters faced, a 364 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 561. I'm going to give you a couple Arizona Diamondbacks batters to watch out for in this game, because I think we just might have something on one of our favorite plays of the day. Donnie Rightside, it's a Friday. More to come next. Keep the dial right here on Sirius XM Channel 159.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app and you'll never be alone. Take the latest episodes of your favorite shows with you anywhere. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime, on the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
Football full circle.
But I'll ask Washington Commander fans, would you give up 5 number ones for Jaden Daniels? You know what? Knowing what I know now, probably. Would you give up 5 number ones, for the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud? You know what? I wouldn't like it, but yeah, I got my quarterback of the future. Whatever it takes.
It's Football Full Circle with Ben Stevens and Scott Wetzel. Weekdays noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Searched. And now you found it.
A mostly peaceful oasis in the sports talk desert, where one multi-platform giant shines like a lighthouse on the calm ocean.
Nice metaphor.
That network
is SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Yeah, taking a look here, by the way. Arizona, Washington might even be a total alert at that 8.5. I think it makes some sense. Now, 67 degrees in Washington. Light wind blowing in shouldn't really affect it all that much. But I do want to shout out Alec. Like when I ask, and I love when people get back and have good answers. I do have the Pickett app, which he texted me that he's listening right now, but can't comment in the chat box. Use Pickett. I downloaded that app. Haven't used it all that much. So I am going to go through that today just to take a look to see on what it's about. But I am actually on there. One of our producers, Pat Foster, had told me that during football season, I logged in. Never went back to use it at that point, but I will check into that app. So, Alex, thanks for tuning in here and letting me know of that. I'll make sure to see if it can fit my needs, as I like to say. But getting back to Arizona and why we like this game so much. Jake Irvin's a right-handed pitcher. I told you extremely struggling last year and this year with left-handed batters. Take a look at the left-handed batters in the lineup today that you might be able to play off of. Corbin Carroll, absolutely on fire against right-handed pitching. 417 ISO, weighted on base percentage, 496. You take a look at Ketel Marte, who's a switch hitter, will bat lefty against Irving. Not a high ISO power number, don't care about that. 394 weighted on base percentage, low K rate, high walk rate. Fantastic. Love to see that. Josh Naylor, 13 at-bats against right-handed pitching. This year, 094 ISO, which is low, but a 341 weighted on base percentage. I can work with that. Eugenio Suarez, been absolutely off the charts, by the way. 14 at-bats against righties this year, a 923 ISO. Get out of town. And Pavin Smith, a 333 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 564. We will guaranteed be in play in this game tonight. I'm glad it's a night game tonight at 6:45 because I might like a plethora of things. Like I told you, the depressed team totals you can take a look at. Let's just say you go, I don't know, Nats to score 3 runs in this game and the Diamondbacks to score 4 runs and you parlay it together. That's a plus 120 price. Now, they both have, that would be 4 runs and 3 runs, which means 7, close to that total. But it is a little bit of a, better price at plus 120 that you would pay for the 8.5 itself. But it's just a matter of messing around with some numbers and checking out to see what they actually are. I find that very interesting tonight. So that game is going to be the focus of my night tonight. And now that I'm looking at Washington, who might actually have some decent batter statistics for themselves in non-super cold conditions, maybe we found something there in that game, which is awesome. As ATX there in the chat box says, yeah, Pickett is good. I do want to check it. I know a lot of people use that. So maybe it's something, and again, I'm never too, being 47 years old, I love technology. I love things that can absolutely help me out here. And by the way, Luis Mateo, if he's working right now or listening, and he just sent me a picture of a pizza 45 minutes ago. Good Lord, I'm retweeting that back out because I'm eating pizza today. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not eating pizza that good. Then my guy Louis cooking up right there. Goodness. Oh, it's almost time to eat. And by the way, Fridays, love them. Rest of the day off is mine. Tomorrow, usually have the day off on Saturday. They had a soccer game in the morning with my daughter, then driving directly into the studio to spend some time with everybody here at the SportsGrid Network. Then also on Sunday, right back at it in the home studio, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Sirius XM channel 159, live on the SportsGrid Network. Myself and Tom Vecchio getting everything popping once again on the baseball show, Pro Baseball Today. But I got to tell you, I wasn't all that excited to start the day. But now that I look, and I might be passing on the Chicago game, and it might really upset me, to be honest. I just don't like the weather conditions all that much. But the Mets game, maybe a side piece here. And what time does that Mets game start? That's a 3:10 start. So we got a little bit more of an hour on that one. The Yankees game with a couple guys put together. But boy, oh boy, if I tell you, I got to get to one game today, it's got to be Washington and Arizona. So feeling a lot better about this. Now, there is a night card here that I haven't capped yet because there's still, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it 6 games? Yes, 6 games. That's 7 games, start at 6:45 or after tonight. I'm not really in love with that Dodgers-Phillies game. Too many variables for me at this point. Atlanta's going to win their game against the Marlins. I just don't know which way I'm going to actually bet that at this point right now. But this is good stuff, though. So I'm excited. We had a nice winning day yesterday. I look to continue that today. As you know, I'm caught up on that Washington-Arizona game. So many different ways to bet it. Maybe a little Soto Nimmo for the Mets. Yankees with Jazz, Wells, and Rice. Or maybe I include some other guys that are just so damn hot you can't leave them off the card. Like an Aaron Judge at that point. But I do think I'm going to lay low in that Cubs game. But if I did play something, which I'm not, Hap Tucker and Suzuki, probably in a combination in there. But just colder temperatures in Chicago, wind blowing in. Not a great game overall. And I do think there are better days today. I just can't wait. Like once we get guys, man, you don't want to ever hit the fast forward button because it's a great time of the year. The NBA playoffs are finally going to start up. You have the Final Four on Saturday, the championship game on Monday night. Hockey playoffs are about to begin here. Baseball is just getting underway. But I'm telling you, handicapping these games, so much easier in the month of May, June, July, and August. Paint by numbers. Winning money, having some fun. You know what I like best? teaching people along the way. Donnie, what do you use? I explain it to you every single day. I love to share with the people. I love when you guys cash in. I love that you guys support the shows here on the SportsGrid Network. Chris Bond, the Wheels of Steel, Donnie Rightside. I will see you on Monday, right back here on Moneyline.
Ask any woman and she'll tell you all men are afraid of commitment.
Clearly, she's never met a SportsGrid listener.
Drew Watkins named the AP Women's Basketball Player of the Year. She led the Trojans to their best season in nearly 40 years. They won the Big Ten regular season title for its first conference crown in 31 years. The sophomore is already in the top 10 on USC's all-time scoring list. Her season was cut short in the NCAA tournament with an ACL injury suffered in the second round. The men's Final Four is tomorrow in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. The Florida Gators take on the Auburn Tigers. The Houston Cougars battle the Duke Blue Devils. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Find what you love and love what you find. A Total Wine and More, the place to go for sipping rosés with seltzers on ice, making margaritas with your favorite tequilas. It's warm out, let's go. Our prices are low on spirits, beer, and wine. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. B21.
Lowe's knows that your deadlines don't change, even when your job does. But with Lowe's Buy Online, Pick Up in Store, we'll help you adjust on the fly. And when you absolutely can't leave the project, we can deliver to your job site as soon as same day. Lowe's knows pros. We help, you save. Valid on eligible in-stock orders and select zip codes placed by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. More terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
How many SportsGrid listeners does it take to change a light bulb?
It takes two.
One to change the light bulb, and one to see if our mobile app can provide the same amount of light. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Football Full Circle live right here on a Friday on the SportsGrid Radio Network and Sirius XM Channel 159. It is FFC. He is the mastermind of the pigskin. That is Joe Lisi, and I am Ben Stevens. An hour together to send you into your football weekend up until 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Fewer than 3 weeks remain until the opening round on the opening night of the 2025 NFL Draft. 3 weeks from now in Green Bay, Wisconsin, the future of the NFL takes shape. We also had some big contract news late yesterday afternoon after we were done here on Football Full Circle to, of course, recap and go through with you on FFC. And maybe even some college football conversations on this Friday as well as spring ball in a lot of spots around the country. You might not be saying spring games as much, but still spring practices underway. Lisa Guy, a lot to get into here over this next hour up until 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, there is. And the spring practices, I feel, Ben, like have gone under the radar in recent years, which is, a little ironic considering that as, huge college football fans and knowing how the fan base has been, they used to pump up these spring games bigger than anything. And now it just seems like it's just an afterthought. Certain programs like Ole Miss don't really play a spring game. They do other things. And we saw Matt Rule in terms of what he did with that situation. But it is intriguing that, here we are with the NFL draft about 3 weeks away, and NFL is still taking front and center stage where college football used to at least take a couple of weeks away from the NFL. That's not the case recently. Again, we'll see what transpires, but it is amazing. I did see that college football and college basketball potentially being pushed out, they said, in the next 10 to 15 years. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, let's hope not. I still think college sports will have their place always and forever. Lisa Guy, let's start in the National Football League, though, with some big contract extension news last night. Geno Smith, traded by the Seattle Seahawks to the Las Vegas Raiders earlier about a month ago, has now signed a new contract extension that will tie him to this Raiders franchise through 2027. A 2-year, $75 million extension for Smith that can be worth more than $85 million with incentives. Again, the Raiders seemingly at this moment have their quarterback of the future, at least for the next few years there in Sin City.
Yeah, it's amazing. Two things come to mind when I hear this, Ben. And one is, I really think Pete Carroll hated Russell Wilson, right? I mean, knowing and seeing that he's reunited with Geno Smith, and it's not, hey, Geno, come to the organization for a year or so. We're going to make you, one of the highest paid quarterbacks, and you're going to be the face of the franchise for the next 4 or 5 seasons. It's incredible that they're relying on and buying into Geno Smith. I can't believe that with Tom Brady, the GOAT, with 7 Super Bowls going, that's why, Geno Smith, old man Geno, back in West Virginia. This is in 2011 or 2012 now. We're in 2025, and they're paying Geno Smith at the end of his career and never made it to a Super Bowl. It's crazy. But again, the Raiders are in a complete rebuild. They needed to have at least some sort of consistency at the quarterback position. And Geno Smith does bring that with his veteran experience.
And Lisa, when you speak about a veteran, Geno Smith, 11 years in his NFL career at the age of 34 years old. Did sign an extension with Seattle after his first year in the Northwest in 2022. He's been good, right? 4th most passing yards in the National Football League a season ago. He has not been great necessarily. He certainly does not elevate the ceiling of even a playoff contender to a playoff frontrunner. And Las Vegas is not necessarily looking for that, perhaps, or at least expected to be that in 2025 under Pete Carroll. The Raiders win total for this upcoming NFL campaign, 6.5. Now the over has the juice at minus 140. But I do find it fascinating, Joe, because I think the extension after already the acquisition of Geno Smith, now the extension that keeps him in Las Vegas and under contract through the 2027 NFL season kind of shows us that despite having the 6th overall pick, it may be an intriguing quarterback on a slight slide in the early parts of that opening round. Of course, referencing Shedeur Sanders, the Raiders not all that invested at making a run at a quarterback here in the 2025 NFL draft.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think the other part, Ben, is the fact that, a lot of teams have now gone the route of a cheaper, maybe veteran quarterback that they could get either in a trade or a free agency. We saw that with Sam Darnold. I know he didn't, that wasn't the overall, process with J.J. McCarthy there, but they wound up at Sam Darnold as the starter and had huge dividends with 36 touchdown passes, right? We're seeing teams now saying, hey, maybe we don't have to develop a franchise quarterback. We could put a Band-Aid on it, get a veteran that could be a plug-and-play type of guy, and let's see if we can make a playoff run. Ultimately, though, we're talking about teams that are in either rebuilds or potentially, let's say, wild card contenders. We're not talking about the elite. Yeah. These teams that make these moves for free agents have no sights realistically to challenge for an AFC or an NFC championship bet.
Absolutely so, Joe. And I think that would probably be the expectation in Vegas, even if Geno Smith did not sign an extension, even if they had a different quarterback under center this year. But of course, after you traded for Geno Smith, who was dealing with Seattle trying to get his own long-term extension there, of course, we knew an extension was coming. Just for me, I think it's a fascinating move by a new organization. Tom Brady inserted as a part of the minority ownership group. Of course, Mark Davis taking over for his father. This is a Raiders team since 2002 that has only made the playoff twice, and in each of those 2 years, they have made the playoffs. The only 2 times the Raiders have had a winning record above 500 in the last 2+ decades. This is not a franchise, despite being a staple of NFL lore and history, that has seen much success. And because of that, Joe, with Pete Carroll coming in, with new GM John Spytek, of course, with Brady's influence as well, I really kind of thought they would strive for success. Now, your best friend and my co-host on the early line, Donnie Rightside, was a big fan of the Pete Carroll signing as the head coach. I was a little bit more hesitant because it just kind of feels like the Raiders are kind of in this limbo middle ground area. One of the reasons that Donnie believed in Pete Carroll, and I think one of the reasons Pete Carroll is probably the head coach of Las Vegas, is because he provides a stable foundation for a franchise that really has not won a ton in the last 2 decades. But, Joe, to me, then you extend Geno Smith, almost kind of tying your cart to his wagon. You're not necessarily then in the running, at least this year, for a quarterback. Who knows about next year? Certainly in 2027, some things could change. I'm just not entirely sure what the direction is for Las Vegas. And that's an interesting place to be in because you could see more years entering with a win total around 6.5, which is what the Raiders have entering 2025.
Yeah, now, Donnie's happy because he believes, and tell me if I'm wrong, that Pete Carroll just will give the reins over to a younger, more viable offense or defensive coordinator in the future. Correct. And basically he guarantees like a losing season in Las Vegas for the next year or so, per se. I believe that Pete Carroll at least is, for the most part, a pretty good game planner, does coach up younger talent, and really overexceeded in terms of his last few seasons in Seattle, leading that team to a 9-8 overall campaign and a playoff appearance against San Francisco when they were picked at the dead last potentially of the NFL when Russell Wilson walked out the door with a 5.5 win total. So granted, is he going to be, the next Ben Johnson or wild card team? No. But at least he potentially could get you to 7 and 8 wins, and that's what the Raiders need right now.
Yeah, maybe so, but then you're still kind of in this limbo area where you're not overly bad, so you're not drafting in the top 2 or 3, and you're certainly not a playoff team either. Plenty more conversation coming your way on FFC.
4 out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin. He just gives that vibe. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. The Trump administration is considering a deal to save TikTok that would have China maintaining control of the algorithm that will be leased to a U.S. company with a minority ownership stake. The Trump administration has set a Saturday deadline for the app to be banned if it is not sold by its Chinese-owned parent company, ByteDance. Lawmakers in Oregon and Washington are considering whether striking workers should receive unemployment benefits following recent walkouts by Boeing factory workers, hospital nurses, and teachers in the Pacific Northwest that highlighted a new era of American labor activism. Oregon's measure would make it the first state to provide pay for picketing public employees who aren't allowed to strike in most states, let alone receive benefits for it. Washington's would pay striking private sector workers for up to 12 weeks, starting after at least 2 weeks on the line. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins.
Join the millions of people who are celebrating going hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. Footwear you just step into and they're on.
It's crazy how something as simple as a pair of shoes have made my life better.
After trying Skechers Slip-ins, I want all my shoes to have this technology.
See what everybody can't stop talking about. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. GI Bill, SkillBridge, and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
There's something you should know and always remember.
SportsGrid does not increase luck.
We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck,
go find a horseshoe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle, it is FFC. One big contract extension yesterday afternoon for Geno Smith. He will be in Las Vegas, at least under contract, through 2027. The Raiders' new quarterback. The other one, Trey McBride, third-year tight end out of Colorado State, playing with the Arizona Cardinals, about to embark on year number 4 of his National Football League career and just got paid. 4 years, $76 million deal. That's $19 million per year annual average value. Joe, making McBride the highest paid tight end in NFL history. You see this at many different positions. As the salary cap continues to grow, the salaries continue to go with it. Trey McBride, 4-year, $76 million deal, $19 million per season. Now the highest paid tight end the NFL has ever seen.
Yeah, and he'll hold that off for a couple of years till they re-sign Brock Bowers in Las Vegas. Yeah. But Trey McBride, let me just say this. You want to talk about a gamer, a guy that hit the ground running, the security blanket for Kyler Murray. I mean, the guy just steps up each and every time. I know they can't find him the end zone consistently, but on third downs, the guy is an unbelievable weapon to have. Because Kyler Murray, all he does is look underneath, and Trey McBride is a main option. So there's multiple games last year. You know, I could think the Miami game, I believe the Ram game, the Carolina game. He stepped up multiple times, 100-yard performances. I mean, really opens up everything over the top for Marvin Harrison and all of the wide receivers there. He's a main attribute and option for that offense. If they're going to have success this year and they're going to be a 9, 10, or an 11-win football team and challenge the Rams and 49ers, they needed to sign Trey McBride. They did the right thing, and hopefully he just, plays a great career and maybe to the Hall of Fame, because that's the way he's playing after last season. Unreal.
Well deserved for Trey McBride. A second-round pick back in 2022 out of Colorado State. A diamond in the rough, if you will, that now sees that second contract and gets rewarded for it in Arizona. Last year, Joe, 111 receptions on 147 targets, 1,146 yards. But to your point, only 2 of those 111 grabs ended up in the end zone. That was the only thing he did not do a ton of last year. But just for comparison's sake, we know Marvin Harrison Jr., 4th overall pick now 2 years ago. A year ago? 2 years ago? Was it last year? It was last year.
Last year, with neighbors.
Yeah. Rookie season for Marvin Harrison Jr. He had 62 grabs. That was the second most with the Cards. 111. Nearly 50 more for Trey McBride. It is what he was, Kyler Murray's top and favorite target, and by a pretty long shot, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch Kyler Murray, when he's on, he stays in the pocket. There are times that he retreats so much in terms of the pocket to buy time that the only option is underneath to Trey McBride, because otherwise he'd turn the football over. So that's why Trey McBride has a number of different receptions. And you talk about it, 111 compared to Marvin Harrison. That is, I think, the Achilles heel and the weakness of Arizona's offense, if they're to take the next step, is that they have to keep Kyler Murray in the pocket looking down the field. I'm not suggesting, it was a bad season. It's just that he retreats so much that at times he's running for his life the way Caleb Williams has, and he throws underneath because McBride, nobody can cover the guy. It would be nice if he could stay in the pocket and get him vertical. Maybe he could score more touchdowns.
Yeah, and Lacey, part of that is probably also because of Kyler Murray's height, trying to look over those big hog mollies up front. It's about to be year number 3 under Jonathan Gannon. Last year, Arizona well over its win total of 7.5, or not well over, but over its win total of 7.5 with an 8-9 record. A very pesky team last year, but pretty much 500, which is what we expected. That followed 2 years of back-to-back 4-win seasons, so as many wins in 2024 as they had combined in 2022 and 23. 8.5 the win total for the Cardinals entering 2025. The under has a slight bit more juice. Joe, I'd say that's fair for Arizona. I also think it speaks to the strength of this NFC West. The floor of this division, not very deep down. We'll see what the ceiling is with the Niners and the Rams, but the Cardinals and the Seahawks are going to make things difficult in that division for all 6 games that you will play against your divisional mates all season long.
Yeah, and from the betting aspect, I think I would take the shot on the over, Ben, just because think about the offensive weapons that they have. They do have Harrison Jr., they do have McBride. James Conner's a gamer. He can catch the football out of the backfield as well. And that defense, led by Budda Baker, all they did in the middle part of the year was dominate teams, dominate Chicago. After that New York Jets team came in and they abused Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, it looked like they were well on their way to a wild card appearance. Beat Miami in Miami. They had high highs, but then the low lows, right? They lose to Carolina when they had their playoff hopes on the line. You can't do that. This has got to be the next step. Gannon has done a really good job of elevating this team to a certain level. They've plateaued now. Can they take the next step? I would bet that they can, Ben. If you're asking me, who has more upside right now, San Francisco or Arizona? Will leave Seattle and the Rams out. I would take a shot on Arizona because of how young that talent is right now.
Yeah, I would agree, Joe. It's not the worst look in the world, and I do believe in what Jonathan Gannon is doing. If Kyler Murray is healthy, this could be an interesting team to follow in 2025. The Cardinals right now have the 16th overall pick at the end of this month, April 24th, in the opening round. The position that the Cardinals are most likely to take with their first overall pick is a defensive lineman or an edge rusher at plus 210, or some more O-line help to protect Kyler Murray and keep him upright at plus 230. It would seem to make sense, Joe, that with all the offensive talent, they continue to invest on that defensive side of the ball under the tutelage of their head coach, of course, from that defensive background in Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah, again, Gannon, and when he was hired, it was like, Jonathan Gannon. But great against the number, especially as an underdog, really steps up. It's when they're favored that they can't really come through. That's the biggest change for 2025. Have to win when you're expected to.
And the Cardinals were that team, Joe, even without Kyler Murray in 2023, that when booked as a dog, they kept games closer. That's how you see the improvement on the win total. More FFC up next.
There's smart.
And there's not smart.
Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Keep it here and win.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1974, Hank Aaron ties Babe Ruth's home run record by hitting number 714 in Cincinnati. In 1986, Wayne Gretzky sets the NHL record with his 213th point of the season. And in 1989, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar plays his last NBA game in Seattle, ending his incredible career. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
Winter's over, spring is here, and baseball is back! Spring training this year, 19 MLB teams are replacing...
Ball four, take your base.
With... high-speed camera algorithmic robot umpires used in professional tennis challenges for years.
You cannot be serious!
Tested in minor league baseball without much controversy other than tuning the strike zone. Just testing for now, but maybe next season we'll find out if tradition in baseball gets to meet the 21st century. Follow me at Capalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this. Play ball.
Sports Rage Tonight.
Hello, Carrot Top is trying to kill me. I just gave people a movie, a Hollywood idea.
He's a super nice guy, was very patient about questions and helping out the guys that were not at his level. So, I hate his act. It's absolutely...
but great guy.
By the way, when you're a comic, this is the worst thing you can say about somebody. Is he funny? He's a nice guy.
It's Sports Rage Tonight with Gabe Morency. Weekdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. Wherever you go,
there you are.
Download the SportsGrid mobile app and we'll be right there with you.
So now you can get the winning edge anywhere.
Even while the wife's talking to you.
If you've got an earbud.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle, it is FFC. Let's continue to look at the 2025 NFL Draft and where things stand right now. Fewer than 3 weeks away from that opening round, exactly 3 weeks from right now. And it will be night number 2. That's rounds 2 and 3 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Lisi, a new market has opened up. We have reached that stage in the draft process where basically every day there's some new betting market that's not just good for wagers and trying to win some money, but also kind of gives you an idea of what we are going to see in a season known for its lying and its smoke screens. Not so much this time around. Very quiet, it seems, on the NFL draft front, if you will. But to be a top 5 pick, some of those players that are not the hefty odds-on favorites to go first, second, or third overall. The defensive tackle out of Michigan, Mason Graham, who can be an absolute game wrecker, minus 140. There is another guy with a slight minus money price, but I wouldn't necessarily consider him an odds-on favorite. That's Armin Membu, the offensive tackle out of Missouri, at minus 105. And Will Campbell, the other offensive lineman, battling it out with Membu for who that first O-lineman take it is at even money plus 100. We can discuss them, Joe, in just a matter of moments. I think the main focus here is to be a top 5 pick, Shedeur Sanders, a plus 145 price. Sanders is not favored to go in the top 5 of the 2025 NFL Draft.
Yeah, it's amazing, and again, that could change in a heartbeat if a trade, is decided prior to the draft or right on draft day. That number, could change dramatically. So if a trade does happen, right, do we expect a team to reach up and get Membu and Will Campbell? It's possible, but doubtful. Abdul Carter could be that guy, right? Because he's a game changer, edge rusher. What is the mindset and what is the vision of Cleveland, knowing that they're in quarterback purgatory and they have multiple needs to fill? So again, if you look at top 5 pick, Mason Graham, obviously a minus 140, but Shedeur Sanders would be that guy that if a team does move up into the top 5, they're only moving up for either Abdul Carter or Shedeur Sanders. That's it, right? So the 145 isn't a bad price bet.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, Joe. There are a couple of pathways I think you could paint for why that plus 145 number on Shedeur Sanders could be cashed and make some sense. One, maybe the Browns and or the Giants come to their senses and try to get a quarterback of the future with the 2nd or 3rd overall pick, but that seemingly at this moment not going to happen. Then there could be a quarterback needy team that is sitting there and waiting and not wanting to take any chances, so they trade up with the Patriots to give New England some more draft capital, or the team that has the 5th overall pick in the Jacksonville Jaguars, also trying to accumulate more draft capital to have many more picks and thus fill out the roster. Those would be a couple of spots, Joe, where I don't really think the Patriots or the Jags need to stay there unless they are sold on somebody that they don't think will be around if they move back in the NFL Draft. Could we see the Saints trade up to get Shedeur Sanders? Could we see another team deeper than that? Maybe a team like Pittsburgh at 21st overall. Because, Lisi, guy, with where the quarterback market has really kind of been this offseason, there's not many teams outside of the top 3 that really have addressed their quarterback needs already through this offseason market that are still in need of a QB. We know that Geno Smith has now been extended in Las Vegas. Derek Carr is the quarterback of right now for New Orleans. Could they draft his heir apparent? That, of course, remains a possibility. But as you go down the board, not much at this moment where you would think a team burns a first-round pick on a quarterback they might not be sold on, except for the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21st overall. Would the Steelers wait? Would they try to get up the board to try to make sure they can be the team in that agency position to draft Shedeur Sanders? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously some deeper shots, LA, trying to back up or get an heir apparent to Matt Stafford would be another option if the Steelers don't do it. What about this, Ben? What about the Colts at 14? I know Daniel Jones is there and AR is there. Would they take a shot, if they're not sold on the situation and say, hey, we'll take a shot and we could get Shedeur Sanders or potentially, another quarterback? I'm just saying it's an option.
I hear the idea. I think that would be a lot of investment on the Indianapolis Colts' part to have a fourth overall pick in AR just 2 years ago, now about to enter his third year and pay Daniel Jones this offseason. Plenty more conversation next on Football Full Circle.
The winning edge.
You've got it.
But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us.
But we're working on that.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. History-making performance for the Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo last night. 35 points, 17 rebounds, 20 assists, and a 126-113 win over the Sixers. Baseball, the Reds are the first team since 1960 to lose 3 straight by a 1-0 score after Thursday's 1-0 setback at Milwaukee. Men's Final Four tomorrow at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. First game just after 6 o'clock Eastern. Florida faces Auburn. Then, just before 9 Eastern, the Duke Blue Devils battle Houston. Duke head coach John Scheyer, the recipient of the 2025 John McClendon National Coach of the Year Award. It's his third season as the head coach of Duke. He led the team to a 35-3 record and their 18th trip to the Final Four. Women's Final Four tonight. South Carolina battles Texas. The rivals finished the regular season both 15-1 atop the SEC. It's the 5th consecutive Final Four appearance for the Gamecocks. The winner moves on to face the UCLA-UConn winner Sunday for the national title. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Here's comedian Howie Mandel for hands-free Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins.
Yeah, I'm holding a new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-in sneaker, and first of all, I barely know I'm holding it. It's that light. You see, Cozy Fit is a cool new sneaker where the upper is made of a soft quilted material. It's kind of like a little puffer jacket for your feet, except it looks like a super stylish sneaker.
Introducing new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins, the latest comfort creation from Skechers. You can find Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't want to see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now. No more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
You're listening to SportsGrid.
Spreading the winning edge far and wide.
Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app.
Face it.
The winning edge is everywhere.
Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle, 3 weeks away from the round 2 and 3 night of the NFL Draft. But, of course, fewer than 3 weeks remain until Thursday, April 24th, in the opening night of the 2025 NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Lisi, again, one of the great things about having all of the odds markets available for an NFL Draft is, one, you can win some money, but two, it kind of paints a picture of what we can expect or at least anticipate. Now, a lot of these markets are volatile because you're trying to handicap what thought is, and that's not the easiest thing to do. But if we just follow the odds in the hefty minus money prices that we have at this moment, maybe we're getting a picture of what the top 5 or top 10 of the 2025 NFL Draft will look like. Cam Ward, a minus 2,000 favorite to go first overall. The Titans have that pick. Number 2 overall, Abdul Carter, a minus 240 favorite. Travis Hunter's number, though, getting a little bit shorter at plus 250. The Browns currently selecting 2nd overall. At number 3 overall, Travis Hunter, a minus 180 favorite. That's where the Giants are picking right now. So, Joe, when you look at that, you've got 3 hefty odds-on favorites. Cam Ward, obviously, at minus 2,000, the strongest price of them all. To go first overall to the Titans. Abdul Carter, 2nd to the Cleveland Browns. And Travis Hunter, 3rd overall to the New York Giants. Then the next 2 teams drafting, that would be the Patriots and the Jaguars, not really in need of a quarterback. So if Shedeur Sanders doesn't go 2 to the Browns, who do need a quarterback, and 3 to the Giants, who might not need a quarterback this year, but certainly will need one in the future moving forward, then that's why you get the plus 145 price on Shedeur Sanders to be a top 5 pick. He is not favored to be a top 5 selection, because there might not be a spot for him or a team that needs a quarterback elects to go quarterback early in the NFL Draft.
Yeah, I mean, then number 6 would be the Raiders, and they wouldn't move up because, like, to your point, they have the Jags and and New England right in front of them, and they're both solidified at the quarterback position with Drake May and Trevor Lawrence. So they would stay pat, so you would lose that bet. But, again, I still think Shedeur is worthy of a top 5 ranking. And we talk about how disappointing this draft class is. It's Cam, it's Shedeur, and then everybody else. Jackson Dart is good. He's not elite, and people pumping him up that's saying that he's like Joe Burrow. Like, could we just stop right now? Joe Burrow was 15-0 as a senior quarterback at LSU and led his team to a national championship. Jackson Dart couldn't get his team into a college football playoff appearance in Gainesville with 2 terrible picks against basically, undergrad secondaries. So come on now, let's call it what it is. I mean, would the Jets, and I love Justin Fields, but would the Jets take a flyer? I'm just saying, I believe, and I listened to Aaron Glenn, and I heard everything, but as a safety net, would they take a shot on a quarterback right there? Or would you wait, to see if he's still around at number 7?
Listen, anything can happen, right? After last year, Michael Penix Jr. going 8th overall when you had just paid Kirk Cousins a 4-year, $180 million deal, which results into the dumpster fire the Falcons are still dealing with now. You don't really know what a front office is going to do. You really don't, because that made no sense. It still makes no sense, even if Michael Penix Jr. has a great NFL career. You would think, Joe, just based on common sense, the Jets having paid Justin Fields to take a shot on Fields as their starting quarterback, at least for this year or maybe the year following, they wouldn't then invest what is very wealthy draft capital in the 7th overall pick, in Shedeur Sanders. You wouldn't think that would make the most sense, but you don't really know what the front office under Darren Muji is going to look to do. That would just be my thought, right? Which is why the Giants could draft Shedeur Sanders. Well, you just paid Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. Yeah, for like a 1-year loan, a 1-year rental, you're developing Shedeur Sanders to be that face of the franchise moving forward. But the days of having a quarterback just on the roster that you have used a first round, let alone top 3 pick on to sit there and learn, that's not really how things operate in large part in the NFL anymore. I think if you are drafting a quarterback, top 3, top 5, you believe this guy is as good as gold and ready to go from the very start, which would make no sense while you just paid 2 quarterbacks a lot of money to now be your bench warmers. That's why, Joe, I don't believe Shedeur Sanders really has a home anywhere outside of the top 3, and I still don't really get why the Browns and the Giants have kind of decided this is their path at the quarterback spot in 2025, but it does not seem as though Shedeur Sanders is going to end up in either Cleveland or New York.
Yeah, and if that's the case, does he fall out of the top 10 then? Again, talent-wise, I don't think he's deserving of falling out of the top 10, but to your point, if and this is what makes the draft gambling perspective so difficult, because it's different from a game. I look at the draft and I say, well, I know Shedeur is a top 10 talent. There's no way he should fall out of that. But then you go back to team needs and what happens, and it's got to be, it's more on what will they do as opposed to what you would do, right? So if he falls out of the top 5 and the Raiders just signed Geno to this long, they're not taking Shedeur, are they?
No.
And the Jets
would make no sense, right?
The Jets aren't. Carolina certainly isn't. And then we have the Saints at 9. So, here's the thing. So if we're taking the bet on Shedeur Sanders, the Saints price is what right now?
Plus 460.
Pays to do that. Pays to take the Giants and the Saints. And because unless there's a trade, Ben, we just played it out, right? So if you lay out 100 on the Giants and 100 on the Saints, if the Giants doesn't come in, you're still making plus 200. If the Giants come in, all right, you scratch the trade, right? It's a no bet, right? You just push,
right,
or you lose $5. It might not be bad to do that, considering it's the safety blanket that he falls to the Saints at 9 overall.
Yeah, and Lisi, I think that is really sound in terms of how you could make this happen, because there is also more markets that help paint the path. The team to draft Shedeur Sanders. The Giants are the favorites at plus 195. The Browns, the second best number at plus 320. Just for comparison's sake, Shedeur Sanders to go second overall, plus 850. I don't know if these numbers are expecting a trade, right? They are expecting somebody to move up to take the second or third overall pick, because the Giants at plus 195 to select Shedeur. He's a plus 280 price to go third overall, which is where the Giants currently sit. So you'd almost rather bet him in those markets, but that also presumes a trade if the Giants or the Browns are drafting him at those prices and they're moving out of the spots they currently sit in. Of course, we haven't seen any movement in the draft order at this moment. The Saints make the most logical sense after that. They're keeping Derek Carr, but they have not just recently paid Derek Carr. So plus 460 to New Orleans at 9th overall does make some sense. And Lisa, guy, a number you and I highlighted yesterday that was 17-1, then 15-1, then 10-1, and now 9-1. Nearly slashed in half in the last 24 hours. The Pittsburgh Steelers at a plus 900 price to draft Shedeur Sanders. I have said, when I get to the Great Garden State tomorrow and I can bet NFL draft markets, that is going to be a bet I make. The Pittsburgh Steelers to be the team to draft Shedeur Sanders, and probably the Steelers at a plus 340 price to use their first pick on a quarterback, because I think either at 21st overall or Pittsburgh aggressively tries to make its way up closer to the draft or on draft night. I think they could hunt down Shedeur Sanders to be their first overall pick.
Yeah, on $100, instead of making $1,700, now you probably only make $400. Might be 4-1 by the time you get to Jersey.
Honestly so, based on where things are going right now. A couple more NFL draft conversations, then we'll flip it over to college football and talk a little bit about where the sport stands early in the spring. Up next on Football Full Circle.
We're not saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie. Just saying. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. The Trump administration is considering a deal to save TikTok that would have China maintaining control of the algorithm that will be leased to a U.S. company with a minority ownership stake. The Trump administration has set a Saturday deadline for the app to be banned if it is not sold by its Chinese-owned parent company, ByteDance. Lawmakers in Oregon and Washington are considering whether striking workers should receive unemployment benefits following recent walkouts by Boeing factory workers, hospital nurses, and teachers in the Pacific Northwest that highlighted a new era of American labor activism. Oregon's measure would make it the first state to provide pay for picketing public employees who aren't allowed to strike in most states, let alone receive benefits for it. Washington's would pay striking private sector workers for up to 12 weeks, starting after at least 2 weeks on the line. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
SpringFest savings start now at Lowe's, so don't miss out. Get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, save an additional $100 on every $1,000 you spend on select major appliances. And save up to $10 on select lawn care products. Shop these can't-miss spring deals now. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/2. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details and qualifying items.
When you switch to Progressive, you could save bundling your home and auto. Then you could put that money towards some of the surprisingly more expensive things in life.
Attention passengers, we've reached 10,000 feet and internet is now available for purchase.
I just paid hundreds for this flight, and you can't even throw in internet? I'll just take the free pretzels.
Sorry, but I do have snack boxes for sale.
I'm just gonna sleep.
In that case, we are selling pillows and blankets as well.
I'll just breathe. That's free, right?
Life costs a lot, so bundle and you could save with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Ask any player and they'll tell you any advantage is important.
That's where we come in.
SportsGrid delivers gaming strategies and analysis 7 days a week.
The winning edge.
It's your advantage to more winning
more often.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle, it is FFC. Lacey Guy, top 5 pick odds now out for the 2025 NFL Draft. Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, a minus 140 number. Armand Membu, the offensive tackle out of Missouri, is at minus 105. Those are the only two guys with a minus in front of their price. But as we know, when you pay the VIG, minus 105 is not necessarily a hefty odds-on favorite. Mason Graham is the only guy right now in the top 5 pick category that has a favorite price to be a top 5 selection. Of course, that is excluding Cam Ward at minus 2,000 to go first overall, Abdul Carter at minus 240 to go second overall, and Travis Hunter at minus 180 to go third overall because they are not even in this market. I believe a ton in Mason Graham. I think he is going to be a game wrecker much in the NFL, as we saw during his playing days for the Maize and Blue in Ann Arbor, of course, with Michigan. But at minus 140 to be a top 5 pick, and we have shared where the other overall odd prices are for 1, 2, and 3, does Mason Graham end up in New England or Jacksonville? I guess that is the conversation.
Yeah, and again, you talk about, the ability to clog up running lanes and the ability to be that force to get quarterback pressures directly up the middle. That's what a defensive tackle does, just the way Jalen Carter disrupted opposing offenses all last season and all over the past couple of seasons. When you look at Mason Graham, one of the best players in terms of their defensive unit, he's a game changer. He's 6'3", could probably add about another, 10 to 15 pounds at the NFL level after he's drafted and still potentially not lose a beat. And where does he go? I mean, I think it goes, I probably would say Jacksonville. And I know that sounds crazy. I just feel like New England needs so much more help on the offensive side of the ball. The moves that they made are okay. They still have plenty more to go. And, it's offense or bust for New England. You could always worry about the defense in the second and third rounds.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Joe, because the Patriots have made a lot of moves this offseason, really kind of filling out that defensive side of the football under Mike Vrabel. Of course, the acquisition of Stephon Diggs. We'll see where his career is at this stage of it. You really want to support Drake May. In New England last year was a 4-win football team, right? 4-13 record, 4.5 win total, second consecutive year of just 4 wins, including the final year of the Bill Belichick era there in Foxborough. What is the win total now for the Pats? 7.5. And the over has a slight bit of juice. They are expecting a much better season in 2025 right away under Mike Vrabel than we saw either of the past 2 years. How do you help them get there? You would think talent on both sides. Joe, I think it will be a lineman, somebody in the trenches at 4th overall, whether that's Mason Graham or whether that's one of the offensive tackles in Armand Membu or Will Campbell. That's where I think New England goes to kind of solidify either end of the trench for them moving forward in 2025.
It's possible. That's the vanilla, mentality of Mike Vrabel. But Mike Vrabel had potentially one of the best running backs in NFL history with Derrick Henry in Tennessee, and that's how they built their identity, right? Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry back in the day when they challenged the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship, right? So Ashton Genty at 16-1 with the top 5 or potential top 5 ranking. Would we take a shot on having a game changer? I know Ramondre Stevenson is there, but Ramondre Stevenson's not. He's good, but he's not a game changer. If you got Ashton Genty in that offense, opens up everything now, doesn't it? 16-1, take a shot. That's the one bet I think I would take a shot on for New England.
Yeah, I don't know, Lisa Guy. I'm really interested to see this Patriots team. I think Mike Vrabel got a raw deal in Tennessee. He was an incredibly successful coach there in his 6 seasons in Nashville. To think that New England's going over 7.5, that's 8, right? That's 9. So that's where we get to the idea of getting to the postseason. I just don't know if that happens right away. Better football, 6-11, 7-10, perhaps, but that's putting a lot of pressure on Drake May, who there were some glimpses, but not overall consistency last year in the National Football League. I just think it's fascinating from that first-round perspective where things go. By the way, Mason Graham out of Michigan, Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan, going to be a first-round pick. Maybe even Mason Graham's line mate, Kenneth Grant, who I think is going to be really, really good on the interior of that D-line, could be a first-round pick as well. Michigan has had plenty first-round picks in the last few years. 13 players drafted in 2024. That set a record for the most in a single NFL draft from one college, 13 from the Maize and Blue in 2024.
Yeah, and they're plug-and-play type of players. When you playing for Sharon Moore and you're playing for Jim Harbaugh and you won a national championship and you had Wink Martindale as the defensive coordinator there, all of a sudden now, you understand NFL schemes and you understand what it takes to play on the next level. And that's what they do in terms of not just coaching up the college talent, but preparing them for the NFL draft. They are very good, productive players on the next level. Mason Graham and Will Johnson are going to be unbelievable players in the NFL. We just have to see what fit is right for those type of players in terms of the defensive scheme.
Yeah, and right now, Will Johnson is the slight favorite around that minus 135, minus 140 number to be the first cornerback not named Travis Hunter to go in the 2025 NFL Draft. Now minus 115, Jahdae Barron, the Jim Thorpe Award winner out of Texas, making up a little bit of ground at even money, plus 100. First offensive lineman drafted, both Armand Membu and Will Campbell, with a slight minus money price. Membu at minus 120, Will Campbell at minus 110. I still hold out hope that Will Campbell is the guy to go first. That will probably be another draft market, I bet, tomorrow, Joe, when I get to your state of New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm not running to the window for that bet. I mean, you're right. I think it should be Campbell, but it's all on how teams view technique. And that's the one thing when it comes to offensive linemen, you could get burned in.
And arm length, I guess. But, hey, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Some college football conversations coming your way up next on Football Full Circle.
Is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern. And Pharrell, Coast to Coast, keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi. Then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to SportsGrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
Think of us as your cool roommate that has this innate gift of somehow always picking winners and never bugs you about doing the dishes or paying rent. Sports gaming strategies and information 24/7. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle. It is early April, and around this time and in the next few weeks, normally in college football, you would be seeing spring games, a celebration at the end of spring practice to let the fans in and kind of have that game day environment that we are used to Saturdays in the fall on some Saturdays in spring. But it's a new evolution of college football. It's a different landscape, which calls for a different schedule and, of course, a different climate. So many teams now, Joe, have either canceled or changed around the format in scheduling of what used to be a traditional spring game to be something else. Matt Rule made a lot of headlines when he announced that Nebraska would call off its spring game because last year he felt that players who performed well in the spring game were being tampered with and entered the transfer portal during that spring window. Ohio State and Ryan Day, after winning a national championship and playing in the longest ever college football season, decided that they will not hold a spring game either. Neither will Texas. Neither will Oklahoma. A lot of schools, Joe, around the country really kind of calling off that traditional spring game that we are used to seeing. Maybe it's a sad sight for the fans, but in essence, it was only a scrimmage to begin with. Basically, a glorified practice. But it is an interesting time in terms of the calendar of spring football when you don't have that thing at the end of it that kind of highlights the progress you have made early on in the 2025 offseason.
Yeah, and it sort of hampers and handcuffs coaches as well because obviously the starters don't play a lot in the spring games, right? Or, it's vanilla type of game plans for that matter. But it's the younger players, the sophomores, the freshmen, that don't have really valuable game experience, especially if these teams didn't play in a bowl game, to develop and at least the coaching staff see how these players respond in somewhat of a game type of setting and situation, right? So now you're taking that away, and now it's, okay, fall ball starts, and guess what? We have to wait and see how these young players perform in some type of situations. That's the one thing I think that you could take away. You have the ability to see where players are from just, gaining the offensive defensive philosophy. Are they in game shape? Do they look like they're grasping, the reads and the formations? And especially for quarterbacks, too, for reading coverage, right? Your starter goes down. There's not that much game time now to work. And I understand there's a long off season, but you still want to develop that talent in March and April as opposed to August and September.
Yeah, it's a good point, Lazy Guy, but they still have their 15 practice window that is spring ball, that is spring practice to do all of that. The spring game was often that 15th and final practice that you would see as allowed by the protocols and the guidelines. Some have cited the, updated climate of college football, the transfer portal, tampering, all that good stuff. Some have also said that because of stadium renovations, they're not ready to go. Most places are still going to have a fan event, open practices to the public to still try to replicate that game day environment. But Joe, to your point, when you don't have the spring game that feels like the marquee event, the closest thing to a game until we start playing games in late August and early September, is that a hindrance? We shall see. There's been a lot of college football coaches that have argued that in today's landscape, with NIL and players getting paid, and starting this year the revenue share, that it is a professional model and should resemble the professional model of the National Football League. Mini camps into OTAs, into training camp, to have more time to work through practices in the elongated spring and summer window. I'm not sure I disagree with that type of idea. We saw Fran Brown and Deion Sanders try to come together to get a spring scrimmage between two sides, as we often see during training camp in the National Football League. The NCAA, no fun ever, shot down that idea rather quickly. But, Joe, I do think as we are seeing an evolution in basically everything we do in collegiate athletics, we are going to see that with the spring practice calendar window, schedule, whatever you want to call it, for college football in the years to come.
Yeah, and, it's unfortunate. This is the way we're going. Players don't want to risk injury before the season starts. NIL and money has driven the bus for a lot of these programs and star athletes. And the people that miss out are the fans, right? The fans that rely on the product each and every year, but they're still having fan events. And we'll see what transpires. The biggest thing is to build up hype before the offseason. That's what the spring games are.
Yeah, it always is. It's always a great time. They'll find different ways of making money. I guarantee you that. He is Joe Lisi. I am Ben Stevens. That does it for us this week on Football Full Circle. Have a great weekend, everybody. The show returns on SportsGrid Radio Monday, noon Eastern Time.
You found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.